today this video is going to be how do I put this? The topic of today's video is going to be everything that you can do that is in your control to get the best mixes possible, which starts with recording. In the topic of recording, I should say. I don't know. That's definitely not the name of the video, but it's going to be something along those lines. But I know what I'm trying to talk about. And there's basically a philosophy that I kind of like run by when I'm recording artists and sessions and stuff like that. And it's pretty simple. It's as long as I get the best possible, cleanest recordings possible and make sure that I am in full control of everything I need to be in control of in the recording process. If the mix is ass, it's on me. I can and I should be able to control absolutely everything as long as the source material is exactly what it should be, or at least as long as the source material is like as in the best shape possible. Now, there's an asterisk there because there's like a disclaimer I would say there because this video is also for, I'm targeting this, the target audience of this video is the kid who's in their bedroom recording on their setup at home, downloading beats off YouTube or whatever, getting sent beats from people and going over them. And a lot of times the caveat to everything I just said about getting clean recordings and being able to control everything you control is you can't control the mix of a beat, and that's a whole nother thing. But you can work with it. It's always something that you can at least work with as long as it's not a terrible mix, as long as it's not a terrible situation. But that's not the topic. That part is not the topic of the video today. I'm going to be talking about all the things that you do have control over as an artist recording in your bedroom or whatever. So that's it. That's the philosophy. That's what we're going to get into. So let's start with this. The things that I'm going to be talking about are going to seem so simply obvious, like painfully obvious, but I need you to trust me that these are things that you need to pay more attention to than you currently are paying attention to already. Okay? So let's start with some like super basic things. I want to show y'all a microphone. I took off my microphone off of my recording stand so y'all could actually see it. Now, when it comes to a microphone, every microphone is built differently. Every microphone has different qualities and things about it that change the way things sound. But at the most basic level, you need to know what you're recording into. So if you look at this microphone, can you tell me where is it that you're supposed to record into? Are you supposed to record into the top? Assuming you've never seen my streams or anything like that, right? Are you supposed to record into the top? Are you supposed to record into the front? Now, most of the time, first of all, every microphone has a logo on the front of it, and that's usually going to tell you the direction that's usually going to tell you where the front is at least. But on this microphone specifically, and on every other microphone, they have something called a diaphragm. And if you look really close, you can see it in there. You don't even have to look close. If I just put in the light the right way, you can see it. See that little circle right there? It's shining off the light and that is the diaphragm. That is the thing that is actually picking up the signal. That is the thing that you are recording into. And this is really important to know because the way this microphone sounds, or I should say every microphone, the way every microphone is gonna sound will come out differently depending on how you input signal into this diaphragm. This is really important. It's extremely important because there's different tonal qualities at different distances, at different positions, and I'll show you. I'm gonna hook this up and I'm gonna show y'all. But now here's another microphone. This is the microphone you guys are hearing me on right now. If I take the sleeve off, it should just come right off. There we go. Now this microphone is different. This is a different microphone. This is not a condenser mic. Now, can I take this off quickly? Yes, I can. So here. Probably sounds different right now too, just because I took that cover off. Probably sounds a little brighter now. But here's this microphone, And the way it's designed is different. The way this guy is designed, the diaphragm is pointed. It's pointed outwards. It's pointed this way. It's pointed. You can see the circle. There it is. You can kind of see it in there. But that's what I'm recording into. I'm recording into this part of the microphone right here. So for the best recording conditions for this microphone, you want to record into it this way because that's where the signal is. I wouldn't talk into it this way. I mean, I could. You're still picking up the signal and you're hearing my voice fine. In this direction, you're not really. But you know, if I was maybe pointing it this way, now it changes. Now my voice gets louder because at least this part is picking up my voice and I'm speaking this way. This is going to intercept it versus if I have it pointed this way. Now this is pointed up. It's pointed away from my mic or from my voice, and you can already tell the voice, the way the tone of my voice sounds changes when I speak it to the microphone at different directions and point it at myself in different angles and like that. Now this all seems really redundant, very basic, but it is important to understand how different ways of recording and different ways of presenting your signal to the microphone. It's important to understand how these things can affect how things sound. You may also notice, like I had just mentioned a second ago, the mic probably sounds different with this sleeve on than if I took it off. Take it off one more time. Okay, what the So if you listen really closely, I already know that this is going to sound brighter and clearer and more sibilant. My S's and my harsh and the high ends and that are probably going to sound more clear and more present versus when this is on, it's probably a tiny bit more like muffled, a little warmer, darker. There's fuzz all over my desk now. Worry about that later. So, okay. So yeah, I really just wanted to point out those kind of like obvious little differences. Now, again, there is technically no right way to do this. But when it comes to the technology and the equipment that you're using, I think the wrong way of doing things and the wrong way of doing it is wrong when you don't understand it. So if you understand everything about how a microphone picks up a signal and you are intentionally recording things backwards because for some dumbass reason you like the way that sounds, I would never, but you can do that. You can do that if you're doing it on purpose. I'm just letting you know that the option's there as long as you know what you're doing. But in my personal opinion, don't be a idiot. Okay? Use your equipment the way it's intended to be used, the way the engineers and scientists design this to be used to get yourself the best signal possible. And at the end of the day, the answer to that is recording directly into the diaphragm of the microphone, just like that. So I want to expand on this a little bit more. Let me just plug this in. And I'm going to go onto this microphone. And I want to show you a couple more things. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to mute this. Pull up, actually. I'm going to pull up like an EQ just so you can watch how things change here. Here's your EQ. You can see my voice popping in and out and all that stuff, all that jazz. Now, there's a couple other things that you want to pay attention to when you're recording your signal. And one of the main things is proximity. In my opinion, proximity is one of the most important things when it comes to recording because let me turn off effects. Hold up. I'm going to turn the signal up just a tiny bit. So one of the next most important things is going to be proximity. And proximity is just how close you are to your microphone. It's really important to understand that, like, here, let me take this off real quick. The closer you are to a signal, or the closer you are to your microphone, there's this thing called the proximity effect. You could basically look into this more, but you're going to notice here there's, like, so much, like, low end and, like, kind of bassiness. You can probably feel it in my voice as I'm talking into the microphone, right? But if I back up here, my voice is here, but there's a lot more mid-range. Like now, like you have like way more of the mid-range in my voice and not so much of the low end. You see how much more boomy it gets, and you can feel how much more thick it gets and shit like that. So now it's all this information. Now if I back up and I'm talking like this, now we're peaking in the mid-range, and So I'm showing you this because it's important to, again, just understand how the microphone reacts to these types of things. And when you understand how the microphone reacts, you can make adjustments based on how you're recording. A lot of people, when they get really loud, they like to get loud like this. Whoa, they're singing and they're singing and It's better to get farther away from the microphone. You're gonna get a clearer signal than if I was like this. Whoa, you're probably getting distorting a little bit. Whoa. Yeah, we gotta do what we gotta do for this video. Okay, I'm just trying to show you all good examples. But the way that these things affect your signal are all important to understand because you want to get the best recordings possible. If somebody is getting really loud and they're really, really loud into their microphone and they're really, really close to it, you probably start to clip and you get clipped recordings and the thing about clipped recordings is this. Let me show you. Let's record something real quick. Whoa, 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 whoa. Yeah. Now, yeah. Whoa. So I'm just want to show you something real quick visually. If you are recording somebody and they're clipping, you could clearly see there's some clipping happening right here where I hit these whoas. You cannot undo that. Once a signal is recorded, you can't undo anything about it. You can't change the recording. You can adjust it. You can manipulate it with plugins and tools and things like that. And there are even tools to declip certain, to declip your signal. But you cannot undo that original recording. And plugins are only going to get you so far. Now, as you can see here, I at least have the ability to turn this up later if I want to, or turn it down later. But me turning these down is not going to get rid of the distortion and the clipping from the bad recording. So what I'm getting at next, on top of the whole proximity thing, is also just it's really important to be intentional about the gain of your microphone and making sure that the volume of your mic is not too hot and not too low. If your artist is coming in, or if it's you and you're coming in too hot, you need to lower the microphone. I'll give you a tip, just like a recommendation. Let me bring this back up. Just a recommendation, right? Just to like keep in mind, like you can always turn things up later if it's too quiet. But if something's too loud and you the signal from something being too loud, you cannot undo it. So it's always better to record too low if you're unsure about how loud somebody is going to get, and then turn it up later. That is always better than doing something too loud because you cannot undo it. And the goal, for me at least, as an engineer and as an artist, is to always have the most raw and the most raw and cleanest version possible of whatever it is I'm trying to record, so that I can do absolutely whatever I want to with it later. I can distort it later. I can make it sound like it's clipping later if that's the sound I want. But I don't want to be stuck with that if I made a mistake in my recordings. Something else I would recommend, this is kind of like more like a side note. If you are recording and you realize, like volume is too loud or volume is too quiet, I would recommend not adjusting things in the middle of recording a song. Once you find a level that feels right for your microphone and that's not too loud or not too quiet, stay there. Don't record half your song and then change the gain on your interface, for one take, and then change it again a little bit more for this next take because it's still not loud or still too quiet. If it's quiet, just leave it quiet and you can turn it all up later. But it's also really important that your recordings are consistent at a consistent gain level on your interface, because on every interface, this is just a virtual. I can show you. This is, if you don't know what UAD is, this is just a virtual like kind of mixer thing. If you're on your Focusrite, me turning this up and down is the same thing as me turning up the gain on a Focusrite. If anyone's confused at what they're looking at with this. But yeah, if you're, I forget what I was gonna say. Okay, but yeah, so I think I said everything I needed to say there. But yeah, what I was gonna say, on every interface, different volumes and different levels on your interface are going to provide different tonal qualities and different reactions from the transformers and the circuitry that the microphone is going through. So you're not really just turning the volume up or turning the volume down when you're changing the gain on an interface. You're changing how the signal feels also. So that's why I say, when you set the gain, leave it where it's at. Try to leave it where it's at. If you're halfway through the song and you're just clipping everything and you're just realizing it, turn it down. I mean, honestly, at that point, you should just record everything, but just turn it down and then leave it there. So at least if you were halfway through the song, you turned it down. Later, you can turn everything else before it down manually, at least, to match it or something. But, don't be changing things all throughout the song. Okay, so now I'm rambling a little bit. Let's get into some other things I want to show you. So throughout the years of me recording artists, there's a couple other things that I have, noticed. Just things that I've noticed when recording people, that will genuinely change how recording sounds drastically. Now I actually did this during Kura's in the booth, and I wish I hadn't, but it's not a big deal because I know what I'm doing and I was able to fix it. But during Kura's in the booth, which is on our YouTube channel, the microphone was positioned like this. Sorry, hold on, let me just screw this in. Okay, so during Kura's in the booth, the microphone was actually kind of positioned down below him a little bit, kind of like this. And one of the things about the position of this positioning here that I've always noticed, whether I've recorded myself or other artists, is your S's are just harsh. They're just dumb harsh. And in the session, if you actually go back and watch that in the booth, when I was working on his voice on every song, there's like this massive his S's were just slicing through every single time. They're just slicing through the whole song, so harsh. And it's because the positioning of the microphone was pointed in a way that it was grabbing the air from the S's directly, the air from the S's were shooting directly into the diaphragm. And the reason why is because the way our mouths and our teeth are positioned, air shoots down kind of at this angle. It doesn't shoot straight forward. So the S's are going straight into the diaphragm and coming in super harsh. And so I was doing a ton of de-essing on the Kura songs. The mixes sound great. I love the way the mixes sound, and I got them to sound good. But I realized that whereas if I was to bring this up, the way S's hit here are going to be a lot less harsh than the other way around. And so, again, something to pay attention to. Now, the reason I'm letting you know this is because I'm letting you know of this fault because, one, it's actually not as easy as it sounds to get great perfect record. There's no such thing as a perfect recording, but you can get as close to it as possible. And when you can control these things, you can. And I should have noticed, the microphone is placed weird. I should fix it. Now, every single time I do an in the booth, I do try and make, or not if it's just an in the booth. By the way, I got to stop calling in the booths. I'm trying to give them my own name. Yo, what should MTM in the booths be called? Blackboy Max claims that he doesn't claim it, but he created in the booths. I want to make our own series name for them, even though they're the exact same thing. What should we call them? I'm thinking about more time with blank artist or whatever, or clocking in with this person or something. We're gonna figure it out, but I want to come up with a new name. What do y'all think that we should name our in the booth series, our own series? All right, so yeah, every single time I have an artist come through to record, the next thing that I always make sure that I am doing is positioning the microphone the way that I want it. I do not let the artist touch the mic. Don't touch the microphone. It's not your job. I don't give a who you are. I'm putting the microphone where I want it because my job is to get you good recordings. If you can't get good recordings as an engineer, you're not doing your job, bro. If an artist comes in and records with you, the first thing that you should be doing every single time they sit down or they stand up in that booth, you need to position the microphone exactly the way that you want it, that you know you're going to get the recordings that you want and they're going to sound the way that you want. And if you don't know yet, that's okay. But at least do what you can and start somewhere so that you can start getting those recordings that you want. Now, generally speaking, what is the answer to that? I always just try and aim for like a tiny bit of a pitch down angle like this. I don't love straightforward. Straightforward sounds pretty good, but I find that S's still come out a little harshly. But it's great for like the mid-range, your mid-range kind of coming through exactly how you want it to. But remember that diaphragm that I showed you. You really want your voice. That diaphragm is like right here. Diaphragm is like right here. This is like the middle of it right here. This line right here, right? So like that's really where I want the artist pointed at, is really directly at that diaphragm where it's picking up. So like right here, boom ba, and I boom ba. I know that this is where it's picking it up from. So there's that. Now the next thing is just generally, I mean, like if you don't know how loud you're gonna be, you or the artist you're recording, if you don't know how loud you're about to be or the person you're recording is gonna be, you can general rule of thumb is like 6 inches from. This is about 6 inches, about a thumb to a pinky. You could just kind of, it's good. Like, it's fine. Obviously nobody's going to stay in the same exact place, but things are going to change also in the same thing. Like if you're recording like this, things are going to sound different than if you're consistently recording into one place in the microphone. And the whole goal is consistent, clean recordings. And that's only going to happen if you're not moving around too much. You don't want too much movement. You don't want all of this. You want just staying in the same place. No matter how loud or how quiet they're getting, you want to at least try and have them stay in the same place. And great artists and great performers, your job, actually, let me put it this way. When you go to a studio, the whole reason that you go to a studio is to get great recordings. The job of the studio is to get you great recordings before anything else. So, if you're at home, your job is the same thing. If as a performer, your job in that situation is to perform and deliver the signal the best way that you can deliver it. Because an engineer can only do so much if you're all over the place like this. Where do I want to go from here? Let me see. Some other things I want to talk about are like equipment and treatment. Every microphone, you should always have a pop filter. Sometimes you see people with like a sock or something over their mic, but I'm not gonna lie, like I don't have a sock. Well, I do have socks on, but I'm not taking them off. You can do that on the Patreon though. Just kidding, I don't have a Patreon. But like if I do this, I just put my sleeve over the microphone real quick just to show an example of what I show you. Just the way that like random miscellaneous things like a sock or like a sleeve or something like that, or even like one of those. If anybody's ever watched like a Plague Boy Max stream like a couple months ago, like he always had like like one of those like mic condoms on his mic, and I was actually one of I was the person who told him he needs to get rid of that. Get a pop filter instead, because this takes away so many frequencies and like it dampens so many like of the great qualities of great microphones. He has a U87, so this looks so stupid, but like it just takes away so many great things. Where if I take it off, now it's like going to be clearer. You're picking up all the high end frequencies that you want to pick up, and when you have a really high end microphone, like the mid range and the high end, more than anything else, like that's what's gonna shine and make a vocal feel amazing. Is like when you have those really nice microphones, they make that sound great. And when you take it all away by just like covering it up, it's just like you're defeating the whole purpose of this couple $1,000 microphone that you just bought. Now, some other really basic things, obvious, but like you should pay attention to these things and have good, pay attention to it. Cables. Always, every now and then, just get new cables. Your microphone, I highly recommend like muting everything, taking all your plugins off of your presets. I know y'all use presets. Take all the plugins off and just listen to how your mic sounds and your signal sounds without anything on it. And if you hear like buzzing or hissing or like just too much, like a lots of air when the mic is just on by itself with no processing, you really probably might need a new cable, because that will come through, especially when you're like over compressing a vocal. All that comes up and is even louder. So it's really important to just have clean, not up cables. As simple as that sounds and as obvious as that sounds, check your cables, make sure that they're not fucked up. Next thing, I'll show you some examples of like, I should have prepared this a little bit earlier, but like I'll show you some examples of like rooms that I think are good recording situations and not good recording situations. It is really, really important though, that the room that you're in is controlled as much as possible. I'm just gonna look up like a bedroom. This is so stupid. It's not stupid. This is actually pretty good. Okay, yeah. So like, if you have like if you have like an empty room, empty bedroom. If you have like an empty bedroom like this, no, this has carpeting on it though. Like if you have something like this where there's no furniture, it's just an open space, there's no carpeting, you're gonna have a really like reflective and like gross sounding room. If you're like you can probably imagine how this room sounds right now just being in it, because or just like looking at this picture. I could imagine it. I don't mean, maybe I'm that much of a nerd that I just, maybe you guys can't tell, but if I'm in this room, I can just imagine how echoey it is and reverby and like just because it's wide open, right? But if you're in a room like this, not even, let's go back now. If you're in a room where it's got carpeting and it's got a bed and it's got, curtains on the walls and all this furniture and all these things that are like kind of like all these soft blankets and like all these things, like, oh, like a room like this, bro, this probably is a great room to record in. You're gonna get way better and way cleaner than recordings in a room like this than a room that has all that extra, all those frequencies bouncing around, because all that echo that you get and all that reverb that naturally comes from a room that's wide open and has no furniture in it is from all those frequencies bouncing around. And when everything's bound, all the sound and noise and echoes and reverbs and from just you speaking or singing in that room are bouncing around, the microphone is picking all that back up, and if you just listen to the signal by itself, you will be able to hear it. Versus a room that is just filled with stuff and teddy bears and curtains on the walls and fluffy bedrooms and pillows. The point I'm trying to get at is you don't need to like get a bunch of sound panels and like really expensive like sound treatment to sound treat a room to get it sounding better for to record in it, because like I said, this video, the demographic is for the kids who are just recording at home trying to just make this work, right? Praying y'all make it out soon, but for now, just figure it out. Go and get some carpeting, bro. Maybe not like this, but go and get some carpeting. Go and put on the walls. Go and get big, heavy, thick curtains. And maybe get some cheap sound panels from Amazon and just cover up all the walls. Anything that you can do to just like fill up space and not let things bounce around on your walls. Like, if I like go to like a studio, like all these things are just absorbing and bouncing and making sure that the reflections of all the sounds are not bouncing around and going all over the place. All these big panels and stuff, their whole job is to literally just absorb sound, and your blankets and pillows and carpets and like and curtains and things, those are all going to do the exact same thing. I'm not gonna lie, even if you just have your bed filled up with shit, will make a difference on how your room sounds, and that will go a long way. So if you can treat your room is really one of the next like after having a good microphone and a good and like a not broken cable, the next most important thing is the room that you're recording in. Actually, the room you're recording in may be more important than the microphone, low key, or at least just as important. But, you know, that's, again, one of the reasons that you go to a studio to get good recordings is because they're sound treated, or they should be. You know, the reason the artist records in the booth, you know, like y'all have seen the booth before. I mean, if you haven't, here it is. But the reason that they're recording in the booth rather than in out here is because the booth is an encapsulated sound dampening chamber. Like it's literally, nothing bounces around in there. It's dead in there. If you close the door, you hear nothing. You hear no sound, and that's kind of the goal. You want to try and achieve that in your room and get as close to that as possible. Now, this is all a lot of stuff, but basically what I was trying to get to is understand how your mic works and control everything that you can about the positioning and about your equipment, and then control everything about your room as much as possible. Control everything about the environment you're recording in as much as possible. Stay away from leaving on your space heaters. Turn your space heaters off. Turn your air conditioner off. No noise. You want as little noise as possible going on in the back. If you got people talking, tell them to shut the f up. Don't let anything interfere with getting a good recording. If you really want a great mix, all those little things, the noise from a mic cable, the noise from a room, the noise from the noise from having your mic too loud and clipping, the noise from people talking in the background, the noise from your air conditioner, or the noise from the fans in your PC, the noise from the window being open, all of those things, as much as it looks like the microphone is just right here and all you hear is my voice, I promise you, every single thing that is in the air is getting picked up. All the noise, all the interference, all those little tiny things are getting picked up, and they are coming through, and they are affecting your signal. It's not maybe they are, or Corb's kind of exaggerating. They're affecting the signal. They are going to change the way things sound. And your goal, after all this stuff that I just explained, your goal as an engineer or as an artist or just the person who's in charge of the recording, your goal is to control all of that stuff as much as possible. If you can control it, and if you can do something about it, do it. So that the next time, so that the next time you're getting the best recordings possible. Because when you have the cleanest, most pristine recordings you can get, and you've done everything that you could, if the mix sucks, it's on you, but at least you can change it later. And you can, or, you know, if you're still learning how to mix, or if you're going to hire somebody, you can hire somebody else to do it and make it sound good later. But as long as, but the mix can, but if you send it out to get mixed and the recordings just suck, you can't do anything about that. I can't fix that later. I can put Band-Aids on it, and I can use plugins and try and denoise and chop things out. But if your recordings just suck, your mix can only go so far, and your vocals can only sound so good. If you want the best sounding possible vocals, if you want to be able to make them sound any way that you're trying to go, you have to get very clean and very good recordings to be able to go whatever direction you want to go in later. If not, you're stuck with what you got. So I hope a lot of this helps. This was actually a lot longer than I thought it was going to be, but I think I was able to kind of break it all down. If y'all have any other questions, just let me know in the comments. Again, thank you guys so much for the love and support. Please like, comment, subscribe. If you guys have any other questions about this that I didn't answer, let me know. I'm sure there's going to be something that I'm going to remember I should have talked about that I didn't. But, yeah, I love y'all. Thank you so much. Let's hit 2K on this channel before the year is over. We still got 12 days left, so let's go stupid. Let's go crazy. I love y'all. Thank you guys so much for the support, and let me know what you want the next topic to be on. I love y'all.